Hi, I'm Greg Lawrence. I'm a psychedelic integration and transformational coach, and tonight I want to talk about microdosing. But first, I want to say that this video is being made for purposes of harm reduction and education only. I do not encourage or condone illegal activity of any kind. I assume anyone following any advice in this video will ensure that they are not breaking any laws in the process, and that they will take any measures necessary to ensure the safety of themselves and those around them. So, in addition to working with clients on an individual basis, I also facilitate community integration circles 3 to 4 times a month here in Los Angeles. I get a lot of questions about microdosing. People want to know, what is it? Why am I doing it? How am I doing it? What am I taking? How much? How often? So let's see if we can answer some frequently asked questions. Microdosing refers to the use of subperceptual doses of psychedelic substances. Subperceptual is key here because one of the questions I often get is, will I be tripping if I microdose? And the question is that no, you should not be tripping if you take a proper microdose, which is 1/10 the size of a psychoactive dose. You shouldn't have any visuals. You shouldn't feel stoned or trippy in any way. You should maybe feel good, better, or not so bad. But no, you should not be tripping. So that begs the question, why would I take psychedelics if I'm not going to be tripping? Well, you may or may not have read the stories of people in Silicon Valley microdosing LSD to improve their focus, creativity, certainly something that helps with that. People use microdosing to help them deal with things like anxiety, depression, OCD. People use microdosing to help deepen their own practice of personal and spiritual development. There are a lot of good reasons to take advantage of this technology. Now, what do people microdose? Well, people microdose a lot of things. They microdose ayahuasca, ibogaine, San Pedro. People microdose cannabis. But when we talk about microdosing, we are generally talking about one of two substances. That would be magic mushrooms containing psilocybin or LSD. It's usually one or the other. How much would someone take? Well, once again, microdoses are 1/10 the size of a psychoactive dose. Now, for purposes of conversation around microdosing, a psychoactive dose of mushrooms is considered to be 1 gram. 1/10 of that is 100 milligrams. Purposes of discussion around microdosing, psychoactive dose of LSD is 100 micrograms. 1/10 of that is 10 micrograms. Now, personally, if someone were going to microdose, I would tell them they should probably start a little bit slower. If you're going to microdose, why would you not start with 50 and work your way up? It's not a race, it's not a contest. And that space in between microdosing and full-on dosing can be very uncomfortable. Do a little bit too much, and you might not feel very well. So someone might want to start with 50 milligrams, maybe titrate up the next time to 60 milligrams. We'll talk about scheduling in a second. 70, 80. At some point, you may feel psychoactive effects. You may have some visuals. You may feel anxious, nervous, jittery. You may feel like you can't concentrate, you're losing focus, your emotions may be really close to the surface. These all may be signs that your dose is a little bit too high, that you should back it up a little bit. Same thing goes for LSD. Instead of 10 micrograms, someone might start with 5 and work their way up until they hit those effects, at which time they would back down and know that they were at their sweet spot for microdosing. How often does someone microdose? Well, there are a lot of protocols out there. I personally like Jim Fadiman's protocol of microdosing one day and being off for 2. So someone would microdose on Wednesday, stop Thursday and Friday, and then microdose on Saturday, stop Sunday and Monday, so forth. Paul Stamets' protocol calls for microdosing 5 days in a row and then taking 2 days off. Some people microdose every other day. It is important to have some off time between doses because if you microdose every day, there's a chance that you'll build up a tolerance and start seeing diminished returns. So always good to take a break. Always, always, always measure your microdoses. Grind up your mushrooms. Don't just take a piece of a mushroom. Sometimes there's much more psilocybin in the top of a mushroom than there is in the cap or vice versa. So take at least a few mushrooms. Grind them up in a coffee grinder and use the powder. Weigh and measure carefully. We'll make another video where we'll talk about how to measure out LSD, including volumetric dosing, which is very important, so watch for that. In the meantime, if you have any other questions, you can always reach me at greg@psychedelicintegrationspecialist.com.